I'm having this out-of-body experience. So this is my last speech at this conference, and this is a new record for me. I have never given 3 presentations at one conference in my life, and I hope I'm getting better as I go along here. This is by far the most tactical presentation I'm going to give of the 3. And to do that, well, how many of you saw yesterday's? And so, okay, so you, for those who didn't see yesterday's, I'm going to violate HIPAA, and it has to do with this presentation. I happen to be deaf, and the only way I can hear is with a cochlear implant. And what a cochlear implant does is the hearing cells in my ear are shot, so there's a microphone, and this is magnetically attached to my head, and then it goes directly to the auditory nerve. So I have a direct line right into my head. That has its advantages and disadvantages, actually. But it never makes it easy to understand people, because everything just comes in, and it's like living in a nightclub 24/7, but that's better than being deaf. Certainly better than being dumb. So now I tell you this because, well, there's 2 reasons. One, if you come up to me and ask me questions afterwards, and I don't give you a cogent answer, it's not because I'm dumb, it's because I'm deaf and I cannot understand what you're saying. So the best way to get to me is email, because I am deaf, not blind. And my email is guykawasaki@gmail.com, which is, not too hard to remember. And I want to tell you that I believe that I lost my hearing because for the longest time, I'm in Silicon Valley. I was a venture capitalist, so I literally listened to thousands of pitches. And because they were so shitty, I became deaf. This is an occupational hazard. And I could tell you some stories about pitches. I've had pitches to put a big balloon over San Francisco to have a hotel in it. So this would be a floating hotel. I had a pitch to cover the city of Los Angeles with a dome. I can't remember if it was for keeping the pollution in or out, but they wanted to cover Los Angeles. Another company wanted to buy Israel and turn it into an amusement park. I mean, I heard some really great pitches. I'll tell you one story in particular that just shows you what the life of a venture capitalist is like. So we get this is back in 1990 or so. And we get this pitch that we have invented this technology to prevent damage to your laptop when you drop it. Because back then, there were hard disks in laptops. And the way a hard disk works is the disk is spinning and there's something reading it, kind of like a record. And so if you drop it, the reader can penetrate the disk and really do a lot of damage. So you really don't want that to happen. It would be like dropping a record. You're too young to know what a record player is, but it would be like dropping a record player as it's spinning. And so this was a very interesting idea to prevent damage to hard disks in laptops. So we're all excited and we drive to this company. I swear to God, I'm not making up this story. So the receptionist tells us, we're running a little late because our founders are talking to IBM, and IBM is really interested in our technology for the IBM laptops, right? So it's like, this is sounding better and better. We will wait a long time if that's the call. So finally we get to the meeting and the guy walks in and he says, that call went just great. IBM is really interested in our technology for their laptops. And finally, we just asked him, so what exactly is your technology? Is it some kind of chip that detects acceleration, so when you drop your laptop, it knows it's going faster than it should be going. So it says, I'm going too fast. I gotta park. I gotta get stuck so that I don't hit the disk. And I'm thinking, oh, it's an accelerometer, it's some magical thing like that. And I am not shitting you. What he says is, well, we have created this military spec foam, and you wrap the foam around the hard disk inside your laptop. And I sort of got, I'm having a freaking out-of-body experience. I said, you're telling me that your patent-pending, curve-jumping, paradigm-shifting technology is foam wrapped around the hard disk, so when you drop your laptop, the foam absorbs the shock. And he said, yeah, and IBM is so excited about this. And I swear to God, what I thought was going on was that this is kind of like, you know those things where they like put people in weird situations and there's a secret camera, you know, it's candid camera. And they're gonna say, oh, you know, we had this company pitch all these VCs, and these VCs came in and we have them give this absolutely ridiculous pitch. And we were gonna see their reactions. I mean, which VC said, you're full of shit? Which VC said, are you kidding me? Where's the camera? Which VC said, oh, that's great. How can we invest? But it wasn't candid camera. These guys were really doing it. So as you can imagine, if you hear hundreds of those kinds of pitches about how wrapping your hard disk in foam is revolutionary, you lose your hearing. You lose your hearing. So what I'm doing today is I'm going to give you my top 10 tips to having a great pitch. And this really comes straight from firsthand experience. I've pitched and I've raised several $100 million. I've also been pitched. And so I've been on both sides of this, and I want to give you my insights into pitching. Now, are there any venture capitalists in this room? Okay, so I might offend you. I hope you don't mind. Well, one thing I want to get out of the way is, have you had a venture capital panel here? You know, how to pitch to a VC and all that kind of stuff. Well, I'll tell you something. In most conferences, there is such a panel. And in every panel, the VCs say, we look for a world-class team with world-class technology in a world-class market. And if you think about it, that does not describe any tech startup in the history of mankind, right? Apple did not have a world-class team. They had 2 college dropouts that were almost arrested for cracking the AT&T blue box, right? Mark Zuckerberg drops out of college. Bill Gates drops out of college. They're all on the spectrum. There's no such thing as a world-class team. If you had a world-class team, you wouldn't need to raise money. You wouldn't need to raise money. The money would come for you. And then, like Apple in a world-class proven market, there was no proven market for personal computers. Personal computers did not exist. And so, you know, and then they say, well, we can recognize world-class teams. And like, so if you, other than my friends here in this audience, if you ever encounter venture capitalists and they say, oh, we can pick out a world-class team, go look at what else they invested in and go do some background research. Because in Silicon Valley, you can go to these VCs and they say, yeah, we pride ourselves in our ability to recognize world-class teams like Apple and Cisco and Yahoo and Google. And then you ask them, well, then why did your firm invest in Theranos? Why did you put $200 million in Theranos? Why did you put $200 million in Webvan? And what the VC will say, I told my dumb-ass partners not to do those deals. It wasn't me. That's how it works in Silicon Valley. So I'm gonna burst a lot of bubbles for you, and I hope you can take this to heart. Please don't get offended. But what can I say? I'm 70 years old. I just don't give a shit anymore. I just gotta tell it like it is, okay? All right, so point number one. Point number one, I want you to get in your mind the right goal for pitching your company. Like, what is the outcome, best case of a pitch to potential investors? And many entrepreneurs believe that the goal is that at the end of 60 minutes, I have so blown these people away that they ask for wiring instructions, or they ask, who should I make the check to? And never in my career have I ever seen that happen. The goal of a pitch is not to use shock and awe. This isn't Desert Storm we're talking about. The goal is not to use shock and awe in order to bludgeon these potential investors into wanting to write your check. The goal of the pitch is to not get eliminated. That's all you want to accomplish, because they're going to throw out 99% of the pitches they hear. You just want to be the pitch that gets to the next stage. So success after a pitch is not asking for wiring instructions. Success after a pitch is, we would like to learn more. If you hear, we would like to learn more, you should declare victory. That is as good as it gets. You are still in the game. The goal is to stay in the game. So reset your goals. And if you have this false goal of you're going to use shock and awe to bludgeon these poor venture capitalists into writing a check, what happens is you think, I got to use shock and awe. And what did the United States do in Desert Storm? Shock and awe, right? We're like throwing trillions of dollars of bombs and bullets and weapons and people, and we're going to just overcome the enemy. And if you have this shock and awe mentality in pitching, you're going to say, well, you know, I understand the 10, 20, 30 rule of pitching, the 10 slides, 20 minutes, 30-point font. But my idea is different. I really need 60 slides. I need 60 slides because I'm going to use shock and awe, and I'm going to answer every question. I'm going to answer every concern. I am so going to blow them away. They want to invest at the end of 60 minutes. And when you start going into shock and awe and you start using 60 slides, for sure you will not get an investment. Do not ever use 60 slides. Now, some of you are out there, you're sitting, yeah, guy, you're talking to the hoi polloi. You're talking about the great unwashed masses who have a shitty company. But I'm different. I'm going to sell books online, and I need 60 slides to prove why you should start an online bookseller in the year 2024. I hate to burst your bubble. I am literally talking to every one of you, right? Just get to the next stage. Number two, you can feel free to disagree with me, by the way. I mean, I support free speech, just like Elon Musk. So number two is you have got to select your process very carefully. This theory of I'm going to just spray and pray doesn't work. And lots of people, they just want to make lots of pitches to anybody who wants to listen. And what happens is you start making pitches and you start wasting their time and your time. If you have a medical device, do not go to a consumer goods venture capitalist. And if you go to a venture capitalist that has multiple partners, pick the partner in your area. Don't just try to get into the door and pitch to anybody who has a pulse. You need to select your prospects. And a lot of that is pretty simple because you can go to a venture capitalist website and each partner will list their investments and which boards they're on. So if you see somebody on a board of an enterprise software company and you say, I'm going to go in there and pitch them about how we can cure cancer with this new kind of radiation, it ain't going to work, all right? So you have to be very selective. We're talking about rifle shots, not shotgun blasts. So select your prospects. And number three is this concept that you're going to send an email over the transom, even to the selected prospects, is not going to work. Because venture capitalists get hundreds, if not thousands of emails every month. And guess what? Every one of them starts with the same paragraph. I am a world-class entrepreneur in a growing market with no competition that is able to do what I can do. Every stinking one of them starts like that. And it doesn't matter if it's medical or enterprise or consumer or agriculture or energy. Everybody says that. So what you need to do, and the proxy that works, I think, best, is not that you say you want a meeting. You want someone who knows the venture capitalist to introduce you. And the people who have credibility in this realm are entrepreneurs already in the platform of that venture capitalist, right? So if you find a venture capitalist you want to get to, look at who he or she is invested in and cross your fingers and hope that you know some of the executives of companies they have invested in. And then you ask those people to introduce you to the VC, as opposed to trying to send an email directly to the VC and getting through the inbox. So someone in the portfolio is a good entry. Someone who is a corporate finance attorney, right? So in Silicon Valley, if a lawyer from Oric or Wilson Sonsini contacts a venture capitalist and says, I just met with two guys in a garage, two gals in a garage, and in my 20 years of doing corporate finance and venture capital law, I have never seen an idea as good as this. Trust me, every venture capitalist will take a meeting. So you want the corporate finance attorney to make the introduction. How about a professor? In my 25 years of teaching computer science, I have never had any students brighter than these two students. I highly suggest that you meet with them because their idea, their technology, their knowledge is so far ahead of what I've ever seen in my 20 years of teaching computer science. It would be a shame if you don't meet with them. So, people in the portfolio, corporate finance, professors, even accountants. If you have accountants who say, I do the books for these people, I've never seen a company with more potential than these people have, you really should take a meeting. The point is, you need to get an introduction. You need to meet people at things like this, and you need people to go to her or go to him and say, listen, I am in your portfolio, I am on a company's board, or I am an executive at one of the companies you've invested in, and this is my friend, and I'm telling you, this is a great idea. I know how you operate. I know the value you bring as a venture capitalist. You really should meet with these people. That is a very powerful introduction, okay? Accountant, someone in the portfolio, corporate finance attorney, or professor. Those are the people you need to learn how to suck up to because you need their introduction. Number four is you have got to do your homework. God's gift to an entrepreneur is LinkedIn, right? I mean, if you go to LinkedIn and you go to the venture capitalist website and you read the about and the bio of every venture capitalist you're meeting, you need to do that level of homework. You cannot just show up and think you're going to bluff your way, right? And so you're also looking for connections to people. So if you get the introduction from a professor and now you have the meeting with these venture capitalists, you do the research on the venture capitalists and you figure out, oh my God, you know, she went to Stanford, I went to Stanford, he went to UH, I went to UH. We both lived in Seattle for a time. We both like to surf. We both like to eat Thai food. I don't care what you find, but you need to find something to break the ice and something to differentiate yourself from other people. So you're looking for any kind of connection, and LinkedIn can show you that. And so can social media. So you really need to do your homework on each and every person who might be in that room. The fifth thing is cut out the bullshit about patent pending, curve jumping, paradigm shifting, multi-billion-dollar opportunity. Everybody says that. That's for shrimp farming software. That's for poi farming software. Everybody says that. So you need to craft a story, because a story is much more powerful than those kinds of made up, you know, basically bullshit. There's also, you know, a lot of people try to start off a thing by saying, well, as you know, AI is going to be big. Wow, thank you for that insight. My God, until we had this meeting, I didn't know AI was going to be big. You've already added value to my life as an entrepreneur. You pointed out that AI is going to be big. Oh, thank you very much. And all we need to do is get a mere 1% of the AI market. Do you realize how big we are? You know, we'll have a bigger company in Google in the first year. And so instead, you want to craft a story that leads you to differentiate yourself. I'll tell you some stories. I used to work for Oracle. I was Larry Ellison's right-hand man. I truly understand Oracle's business and SQL and databases and all that. And I see this large hole that Oracle is not interested in addressing. And it is specific for one purpose, which is to manage leads. Oracle wants to have this big old SQL database that people can write and do anything with it. I want to just address people who want to do CRM. That's my market. That's what I want to do. And I learned all my lessons from Larry Ellison. And that's Mark Benioff's story. And if you have a story like that, that's pretty compelling, right? So that's the kind of thing you tell. You craft that story. I'll tell you the story of Canva. The story of Canva is that my boyfriend and I were instructors at a university in Western Australia, in Perth. And we used to teach college students how to use Photoshop and Illustrator to make graphics. And we learned firsthand that people cannot really understand Photoshop without weeks of training. And Photoshop is expensive. And Photoshop requires such a high-end computer. So we thought, surely there must be a better way for everybody to build graphics. So we started a company called Canva. And Canva is an offshoot from another company we created that helped people make school yearbooks. So we saw how people make school yearbooks, which is a graphic layout exercise. We taught students, and we saw how difficult it was for them to create graphics. So we started Canva. I mean, how can you resist a story like that, right? That's a very different story than saying, I work for Goldman Sachs, I work for McKinsey, I got tired, so now please give me $5 million because I have an idea to sell books online in 2024. You gotta craft a story. You gotta show why you're different, why you're relevant. And I'm telling you, stories matter. You should also know the flip side, which is if people figure this out, you're gonna hear stories too. So let me give you a little piece of advice here. Whenever you hear stories, whether you're a venture capitalist or an entrepreneur, you always ask the question, what's missing? What's missing from this story? So I'll give you a real-world example. Often people, when they're thinking about going to college or not, they read these stories, they hear from these people that says, you don't need to go to college. Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, they never completed college. They're so successful. You don't need to go to college. Just go straight out and create your company. Just go into the workforce. And you got to admit, I mean, that's pretty compelling. Who doesn't want to be Zuckerberg, Gates, or Jobs, right? But you need to ask the question, what's missing? And what's missing from that story is, yeah, you told me 3 success stories of people without degrees who are successful. How about the people without degrees who were not successful, which is 99.99999% of the people? And how about the people with college degrees who are successful? So if you're bored later on, go to ChatGPT and ask, how many Fortune 500 CEOs have a college degree? And you will find out roughly 100%. So you need to ask, like, what's missing when you hear a question or when you hear a story like that? But I'm telling you, I'm trying to help you sell your story, but I just want you to know, if you ever encounter people who are really on the top of their game, they're going to ask what's missing, and you need to be prepared with that answer. Number six is now, at this point, this is when you start making your slides. And I'm telling you, you should limit yourself to 10 slides. At the end of this presentation, I'm going to show you a QR code that's going to take you to an article that lists the 10 slides. But basically, you want to tell people that this is what we do, this is how we do it, this is who we are, this is how we're going to market, this is what our needs are. It's 10 very basic slides. And if you do those 10 very well, then the answer at the end of the meeting is, how can we learn more? Remember, that's the victory. That's the win. So now make your own slides. And I'm telling you, I promise you, 10 slides max. Be able to give those 10 slides in 20 minutes. Yes, you may have an hour, but your IBM PC laptop is not going to hook up to the projector right. Or it's going to crash because the hard disk in it died. There's something is going to go wrong, or the partners are going to be late, or the Wi-Fi is going to drop out. Something is going to happen. You got to be prepared to give it in 20 minutes. And the 30 is the smallest font size. I bet you if we looked at all your pitches in this audience, a lot of you have text that is less than 30 points. I guarantee you, right? And what you're trying to do is, again, you're trying to use shock and awe. And you also, because you don't know your presentation well enough, you put complete sentences, and then you're going to read the complete sentence so that you're sure that you use all the weapons at your disposal. The problem with complete sentences in a pitch is that people can read faster than you can talk. So when you put a complete sentence up there, in a second, they're going to have read that paragraph. And you are just starting on the first few words. And you are going to be disjointed because your audience has already read all the text. And you're just still on the first point. So what you want to do is you put very little text. And what you should do as an exercise tonight is take your presentation, select all the text, and make everything 30 points. And keep cutting until everything fits. That would be a very good discipline for you. If you're a surfer, it's kind of like, after a while, you take your surfboard and you take all the wax off and you start all over. Same thing. Number seven is, please, by God, please cut the bullshit. The more acronyms you drop doesn't make you look smarter. I mean, you know, many times people drop acronyms and they assume that the audience knows exactly what it means. And I'm telling you, you're going to be wrong a lot of the time. Cut the bullshit acronyms. Cut the story about this is a $10 trillion market and we only need 1%. Those kind of lines that do not work. Everybody uses them. It never works. Cut the bullshit. And really, you know, I'll give you an airplane analogy soon, and I'll show you how that will cut the bullshit. Now, the next part is, there are people, and trust me, I used to believe this about myself too, that I must be a naturally good speaker. I can just go up and talk, and I will rise to the occasion, right? You will not rise to the occasion. You need to practice at least 10 times. And I'm telling you, practicing is very hard because you feel really stupid. And if you want something really hard, try recording your pitch and try watching yourself, because that is one of the most painful things. It's second only to a migraine headache. And honestly, you know, I never ever watch recordings of my presentations, because I know when I look at my own presentation, I want to say, God, guy, you know, you stumbled here, you stumbled there, you missed this point, you were too harsh on the venture capitalists in the room, you used the word shit too much. I mean, I'm going to find like 16 things I did wrong, and I'm going to get very depressed. I never watch other speakers too, because Well, right now I'm really, my hearing is so bad I wouldn't hear the speakers, but even when I could hear, I never watched other speakers. And I'll tell you honestly why. It's because if I went to somebody else's speech and it's really good, I would be depressed because I know that person is better than me. And if I went to a speech and that person was lousy, then I wasted my time. So in my decision-making process, I had no upside by seeing other people talk. I don't recommend that you have my perspective. I'm just being transparent with you. But I'm telling you, practice 10 times. I dare you to record, and only you need to watch. I dare you to record your pitch 10 times and watch it. It will be painful, but it will be good. You need to practice 10 times. You are not going to rise to the occasion. Nobody ever. You should know that when Steve Jobs gave a WWDC presentation or a Macworld presentation, he started weeks before. Weeks. Steve Jobs practiced for weeks when he gave presentations. And, you know, just like Dan Quayle, I could tell you something. You are no Steve Jobs. I am not a Steve Jobs. And if Steve Jobs needs to practice, just imagine how much we need to practice. Number 9. Number 9 is a reference to the movie Top Gun. Top Gun 1 or Top Gun 2, either one. Be like Maverick. And by this I mean that when I told you to craft a story, I want you to craft a story that's a 60-second story. Instructors in Western Australia teaching kids how to use Photoshop and Illustrator. Oh my God, they had such problems. We realized somebody needed to make a product that was smaller and cheaper and easier to use, so we started Canva. That's the pitch of Canva in less than 60 seconds. You need to be like Maverick. There's two kinds of airplanes in the world. One airplane is a 787, 747, A380, and it has 2 miles of runway at HNL to take off. And every time an A380 or 787 takes off, it's a miracle. I don't understand how something so big and so heavy can take off, but it has 2 miles and it rumbles down the runway. The other kind of airplane is an F-15 or an F-18, and you know, it's on the carrier deck in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and it's connected to a catapult. And the guy, you know, there's a guy with this really colorful outfit, and he's going on, and he's going like that, and he goes boom, and then boom, the guy takes off, and he has 150 meters, and he gets to 200 miles an hour in 1.5 seconds, and he's off the deck. Or he's dead. So between these two kind of airplanes, an A380 or an F-16 or F-15 or F-18, you want to be like Maverick. And by that I mean, you got to get off the deck. I've sat in so many pitches where 15 minutes into the pitch, I am still wondering, what the hell does this company do? I've heard that your great-grandfather came over on the Mayflower. I heard that he settled in Delaware, and then he moved to upstate Connecticut. I heard that he gave money to Dartmouth. I heard that you attended Dartmouth. I heard that you took a .NET class. I heard that you took Comp Sci, and you know how to program in Python. I know you had a summer internship at McKinsey. I know you worked for Goldman Sachs. I know you read my 16 books, including Rich Dad and Poor Dad. I know all that stuff, but for crying out loud, are you software? Are you hardware? Are you consumer? Are you B2C? Are you B2B? What the hell do you do? Canva is an online graphics design service. Our goal is to democratize design so anybody can be a better communicator. How long was that? How long was that? I don't tell people I came from Kalihi Valley and I went to Silicon Valley and all that. Nobody cares. If people cared about that, they want to know that at the end, because at the end is when they decide, I need to learn more about these people, not at the beginning. So give it up. Be like Maverick. 150 meters, 1.5 seconds, and you're in the air or you're dead. And trust me when I tell you, if you take off really slowly, it's very hard to recover from that. You are going to be digging yourself out of a hole. And the likelihood of you trying to dig yourself out of a hole is you're going to dig yourself deeper, because then you're going to go into your summer school classes and your GPA and your master's thesis and your .NET classes and your Python and your first summer job and all that. Just get off the freaking deck. My God, we're an online graphics design service that has democratized design, and we have 200 million current users. Bada bing, bada bang. That's all you need to do. Think like Maverick, okay? No more 787 or A380. And number 10 is within 24 hours, you follow up. There's a fine line between being a pain in the ass and not aggressive enough. And I think that line is at 24 hours. If I were a potential investor and I met with somebody and they did not contact me within 24 hours, I would think that that person is stupid or lazy. So I think the clock is ticking. It's kind of like when you apply for a job. There's a window where you can't reach back out in 5 minutes. But if you wait 5 days, life will have passed you by. So how long do you like it before, if you receive a pitch, before the entrepreneur says, it was good to meet you, I just want to reiterate my points, and I hope we can do something else. If there's any questions you have, please contact me. How long, what's optimal for you?
Within the business day.
Okay, how about you? 2 days.
48 hours.
Okay. Now, too fast is not too good either, right? I mean, it seems like, you're just sitting in your BMW and you're texting everybody you just met. But so 1 or 2 days, I think it's... All right, so my advice is follow up. Now, if during the meeting, if you want to really impress venture capitalists, guess what? You take notes. You take notes. You should make a big show of the fact that you have a piece of paper and you're actually writing stuff down. Now, they're never going to see that piece of paper. I mean, you could be writing, this person is clueless. Why are we in this partner meeting? I have no idea why. Who the hell scheduled this meeting? I don't care what you write it out, but the fact is, if I saw people taking notes right now, I would say, oh, you're a smart person. You're taking notes. You're smart enough to know that what I'm saying is worthwhile. So my estimation increases because I think that, this person is really paying attention. So you want the VCs to think, my God, these people are real conscientious. They're taking notes. Now, hopefully you are taking notes about what they're really saying, because there are going to be questions in the presentation that you did not answer or you cannot answer. And the venture capitalist may ask that question. And if you cannot answer, then you write it down. And within 24 or 48 answers, you follow through and you answer. And another power tip I would give you that maybe you both won't agree with is, I think the CEO should do 90% of the talking. And I've had many pitches where the CEO brings in the entire team. It's the CEO, the CFO, the CTO, and the CMO. And there's a fine line between the CEO saying, well, you asked the marketing question, I'm going to let my CMO answer. And there's also this line that the CEO thinks, I want to show them that we have a team. So I'm bringing in 4 people. I'm going to each let them speak 25% so that we show that we have a strong team. That is a very inefficient way to do a meeting. Fundamentally, I think that an investor is making a decision 70 or 80% on the CEO, not the fact that he has 3 more other people to discuss things. Let them follow up on their areas afterwards. So that's kind of that's all the tactics I can give you to help you make a remarkable pitch. And this is the link to the Substack newsletter of mine, where I have written an article called The Only Pitch Guide You Ever Need, which I go into much greater detail about what I just discussed. But I hope you found this tactical and practical, and I don't ever want to see a presentation in Hawaii with less than 30-point font. Okay, that is my request of you. And that's the best I can do to help you make a remarkable pitch. Thank you very much.